Yay, we're recording. So, welcome everybody that's actually managed to make it live to join us today for this wonderful, wonderful Diamond Light Reiki launch webcast. Rachel and I are delighted that you could join us. Absolutely fabulous. And we are so excited about what we want to bring to life with you and through you and share with you in respect of this Diamond Light Reiki journey as it is. And perhaps opening your eyes to some information and understandings that will deepen your own existing journey with Reiki and open new doorways for you in respect of empowerment. Because that's really the essence of Diamond Light Reiki. I'm just going to do a brief introduction. So, Rachel, if you want to say hello in the meantime.
Hello in the meantime.
Well, just hi to everybody. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It's so exciting to be able to present this to you, and I just can't believe finally we're here at this place where we're actually going to be sharing what Julie and I have been discovering and what we've both known in our own unique ways through the work with the Diamond Light and also working with Reiki and the understanding of Reiki, and how it is not what we thought it was, and how amazing it is to discover that, knowing the journeys that we've all been on, the places that we've all come to through our own unique soul signatures. And that's, to me, is just, I'm so excited to be able to share this and to actually, if you like, be bringing forward a new way of sharing information, rather than it being, we're the teachers and we're telling you this is what the modality is, and this is how you need to practice this, our modality. That's not what it is at all. And it is basically about supporting you, walking alongside you and sharing what we know. And I'm so excited about that. So.
It's fantastic. And I'm excited to be working alongside Rachel, because as all of this has unfolded, there is a recognition within both of us that we bring each something of great value to this relationship. Oh, Liz, we can see you in your cozy. Sorry. Is it each brings something of value to the relationship. It is a collaboration in the true sense of the word, and in respect of the new way of doing things, the new way of doing business is about community, and it's about collaboration. It's what we call the ninth wave way of being, and I'm not going into detail on that at the moment because that comes into the actual trainings. However, it is part and parcel, if you understand the language of the new earth. It's a new way of being. So it just really is absolutely delightful to be doing this and honoring each other as part and parcel of the journey, because that's also part of the new way of being. So I know that some of you who are here on the call today would be familiar with me and the Diamond Light work. Some of you have come to this through Rachel and her wonderful presentation with Shanine. And in other ways, in respect of having a personal relationship with her. And some of you know Rachel and I, so as in the Diamond Light community. So what I'd like to do, what's that, Rach?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry, I had a bit of an echo on the line, sorry. So what I thought would be appropriate, just to kick this off, is to give you a little bit of background in respect of my journey to this point and how the Diamond Light came into being. And then we can pick up with Rachel, where she's going to dovetail and overlap and then open up the Diamond Light Reiki for us. So if that's okay with you, Rachel, Okay, so I'll just launch in with a bit of an intro. So forgive those of you who've heard it all before. Mary and Linda and a couple of you I know have heard all of this before. But my journey with awakening, with, if you like, the healing arts and the healing process initiated in the same way as I think many of you guys did, through an experience with Reiki, and that was over 20 years ago. And it was really quite massive for me at the time because I'm a trained scientist. So I was still in the corporate environment. And here I am now having all of these weird and wacky experiences and experiencing energy going through my body. And I'm going, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this is all about. You know, it's like help. And I was guided to an amazing, amazing teacher at the time. I say she was a Reiki teacher, and where I'm using the term Reiki here, I'm referring to the traditional Western understanding of Reiki because that's what we're going to refresh. But that was my introduction to this whole journey, was through the traditional Western teachings of Reiki. And my teacher, although she was technically referred to as a Reiki master, had actually been engaged in spiritual healing and healing work for 30 years prior to getting to that point. So she really had a lot of wisdom that she shared with me that established a very powerful foundation. So that was really my introduction to the process. And I loved doing Reiki at the beginning of the journey. I loved everything about Reiki. Oh, I've got someone here. I just need to remute them. Sorry, just remuted that. So yes, in the beginning, I loved everything about Reiki. I loved and sorry, we got a problem here with the mutes and the unmutes. Rachel, I don't know if you can unmute yourself there.
I didn't want you to have any background noise while you were
talking.
Oh,
it's okay. Yeah, it was coming from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved working with the clients. But the one thing that was really profound for me was that Faye, who was my teacher at the time, gave me a practice to use. And only now, you know, sort of in the last 5 years, has this begun to make so much sense for me with a deeper understanding. Is one of the practices she gave me that I actually did on a daily basis was to recite a mantra, which is Mani Padme Hum. And I had to do it in a specific way with reverence. And I used to do that daily. And the translation of that is often communicated as "Hail to the jewel in the lotus." I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. And Faye actually said to me that it was referring to the development of our overself, that we were actually asking for our own higher self to be present, for that lotus of our essence to unfold. And what I came to discover in subsequent years is that there was an alternate understanding for that, and that was "Hail to the diamond in the lotus," because the diamond is the jewel in the lotus. The diamond is the essence of our ultimate wholeness and our ultimate unfolding self. But it took me many years before I got to that. So yeah, that was where my journey started. So the first couple of years, I absolutely loved it. Came through to the UK, and I'd felt, it was probably about 4 years after I started the journey, I'd felt that something was not sitting right with me. My whole life fell to pieces. And that marked the initiation of being given a gift from spirit, which took me down a slightly different route to start working with the diamond energy, the diamond light codes, and the diamond essence. And that started in about 2003. So that was really where the diamond work came into being. So what followed from that was that became my focus, because as I was learning more and more and more and understanding the diamond, it was kind of like Reiki in the traditional understanding actually took a backseat. So I was just feeling that it just didn't resonate with me that much anymore. I was still doing a little bit of teaching, but the diamond energy, the diamond work was my focus. And so many people at the time when I was introducing the diamond work said to me, "Why don't you call it Diamond Reiki?" And I went, but because it's not Reiki, because the diamond was actually about alignment. It was about embodiment of higher self. It was about surrendering to a higher force. It was not about healing in that sense of the word. And that's what we've always been taught with Reiki, is that Reiki has been about healing. And it's been a modality so that we can step into a healing role for ourselves and for other people. So I couldn't call it Diamond Reiki, because in that sense and in that mode of understanding, there was no, what's the word? No resonance. in that sense. So I continued along that path with the diamond energy, and along the way started developing the Diamond Light community, which was just really wonderful, and meeting some wonderful and amazing souls that have been a part of the community and a part of the Diamond Light growth an expansion for many, many years. And among them was Rachel and Anne and Liz and Linda and quite a few who are actually on this call. So I honor all of that support and sharing of the Diamond Light energy. And then for me, what was so significant, which brought me back to the Reiki, but I still didn't know what to do with it, was an experience that happened in 2010. I was doing some remote diamond work, as I actually call it. So I was supporting somebody to create an alignment in order to initiate their own healing. So that's the essence of what I was doing. And I was doing some remote diamond work. And the weirdest thing was in the middle, I knew nothing about this woman. She was in Canada. I was in the UK. I connected with her. And halfway through the session, I was shown these Reiki symbols in her energy field that were pitch black. And this voice said to me, and I was used to this guiding voice, but the voice was really, really loud, and it said to me, take the symbols out. And I went, I can't do that. I didn't put them in. It was kind of like, I can't do that. And it was, the voice was insistent. It was, you are a Reiki master, a Reiki teacher. Take them out. And I said, what do you want me to do with them? It's like, take them out and replace them with gold. You can do that. It's basically like a reinitiation. You can replace them with gold. So I did exactly that. And the client it was absolutely amazing, because I spoke to her the following day. And she then told me that she'd had a Reiki attunement from somebody that she did not particularly feel comfortable with. She'd been coerced into going along to the workshop by a friend of hers, didn't feel comfortable, had the attunement, never felt right, and had completely ignored and never worked with the process. But there it initiated for me something very, very specific about the symbols. Oh, sorry, I just need to say that the woman, the client, woke up from a dream at the exact time that I'd finished working with her and replacing the symbols in gold, dreaming about luscious red strawberries. So what the work had done had been to actually rebalance her energy field, and particularly her root chakra, and re-energize it. And she went on to actually engage in a different healing system that really worked for her, that appealed to her, and actually enjoyed working with that essence and energy. So it was really quite remarkable, and it taught me a couple of things. It taught me a lot of trust. But the other thing that it did was it alerted me to the fact that there was something amiss with the Reiki symbols and the process of attunement, as we have become familiar with the whole Reiki teaching system as it is at the moment. And that stayed with me for a number of years. And then I started speaking to people, and Liz has also said she was told to take the symbols out, and started communicating with other people who actually said, yeah, they've got sort of Reiki masters, as they know at the moment, who only focus on connecting with people's energy fields and taking out the symbols. And I kind of went, okay, so there's something really interesting here. There's a distortion of the Western teachings of Reiki, and at that time I attributed it to the symbols. And I actually felt that as long as I actually made sure that the symbols were in integrity, that I could then continue working with it in conjunction with the diamond, which is what I did, because people were still saying to me, Diamond Reiki, Diamond Reiki. 2014, I did my first Reiki Master attunement with Anne, and it was really amazing. And it was in that process that Dr. Mikao Usui himself presented during that process. And that was fascinating for me, because in all of my years, I'd never seen him as a personal guide who appeared when I was working. I always felt his energy and essence, but I saw him very clearly, along with one of the other guides that we mentioned, which is Lao Tzu. So that initiated, but I still didn't feel comfortable, because what I was still doing there was trying to merge the diamond work and do the attunements Western style in the diamond. And that was my way of trying to blend the two processes, and Rachel's smiling. So it still didn't feel 100% right, even though I knew that the support was there. And Mikao Usui was actually giving his blessing and saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And the messages were getting stronger and stronger. Fast forward to 2017, and we had Rachel's Diamond Reiki Master Attunement, which was galactic. It was it was on another scale completely, because I actually said, okay, I really feel, I'm getting the sense that that this process needs to involve light language, and that you need to engage in the light language while we're actually doing the attunement process. So that's exactly what we did. And mine was just so completely different again. It was mind-blowing. It was like, there's something really, really significant here that we need to do, but it still hadn't fully consolidated. And then Rachel's wisdom in respect of understanding the true meaning of the word Reiki gave us the clues and actually brought us through a series of synchronicities and incredible research to this point. And we've had aha moments going off for the last 18 months that have just been phenomenal in respect of the understanding that the diamond light is Reiki. Reiki is the diamond light we've been misunderstanding all along because of the Western teachings, and understanding it as a modality rather than as a way of being, and that they have merged and blended together in the most beautiful way, which is what the diamond light Reiki is, and is what we will be sharing with you. So that's my introduction. I'm now going to hand over to Rachel, and it's just so that you know who I am and where I come from, for those of you that have never met me. Rachel, the floor is yours, because you've got all of the rest of the gaps to actually fill in.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie. Well, I must say, I mean, those of you who do know Julie, and you are among the diamond community, you know what Julie brings to everything. You know the incredible research that she does. And for those who don't know Julie, I have to say to you that I have the highest respect for this woman, for this person. She is,
even if I didn't understand the Reiki thing.
Yeah. And you did say Dr. Mikao Usui, and it wasn't, he was never a doctor.
That's right, he's not. And that's the preconditioning. That's all of the conditioning from 20 years ago. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and that's part and parcel, isn't it, of this whole journey. Like, I knew things, and I actually had them within my own teaching manuals for, I've been teaching Reiki for a long, long time, and then it didn't feel right. I didn't know what it was. I felt so disconnected, and yet I was seeing people teaching, and what they were doing didn't feel right to me. And I just, like most people, just thought, it must be me. It must be me. I can't understand this. And so what was really, like Julie was saying as well, in November 2017, I had been nagging Julie for years, even when she was in South Africa, please teach me Diamond Reiki, please teach me Diamond Reiki, because I just felt it was the missing aspect to my own Reiki practice, my own understanding of Reiki. And when I say practice, I don't mean as a practitioner healing other people. This is another thing where we've misinterpreted the teachings, if that makes sense. Practice means doing our own journey, our own whatever you want to do, whether it be the Western style healing modality, whether it be watching videos of people speaking, whether it's reading books. That's all a part of our practice. Meditation, light languages, it's all part of our own unique practice. So when Julie came, eventually, after so many years of asking her, I would even said, I'll do it online.
I'm feeling right.
I said, I'll do it online. I don't care. Just teach me it. Anyway, she came over and came to my house one day and said, right, I'm going to come, and I'm over in the UK. I'm going to come and do this Reiki, the Diamond Reiki. And I was so, so amazed. And Julie gave me the manual, and I looked at the manual and I said, I can't teach this, Julie. I can't teach this. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, but this is the old stuff. This isn't what's in my manuals, because I was working with my understanding of it being working with the Kota Dharmas, which is the chanting, the Jumon, the Shirushi, which were the symbols and the mantra, as in, you know, Shokare, as most people who do understand Reiki. And there were so many other elements to it. I didn't really use the symbols, which are actually Shirushi. And my understanding and perspective on what Reiki was completely different to Julie's. So then when we had conversations about what my understanding was, it then unfolded into something else. And Julie had said to me, you know, I want to include the light languages, and it was a huge thing for me at the time. They were coming more and more and more, and I just felt, yes, I really feel, because Mikao Uzui and the Japanese people would chant Kotodama, and that was very, very important to the Japanese people. It felt as if it was sort of coming full circle, and it was just almost like this was for me. This was about me now, not about me practicing this and doing that and the other. Anyway, the attunement slash empowerment slash initiation.
Initiation, not an attunement.
Not an attunement, no. That was the most powerful thing I think I've ever experienced. And to say, like Julie said, we were literally taken out of this dimension, and we came back out of it minds blown, totally blown by things I'd seen and experienced, things I'd felt that I'd never ever had before. So we knew something had been birthed, if you like. So then I went on to teach Diamond Reiki to somebody. I created another manual, my new manual, and I went on to teach. And again, it didn't feel right. So it was like, okay, what's wrong? What's missing? But in the act of teaching it, I then opened myself up to receive more information. And then the information started coming and coming and coming. And then recently I did a Reiki master empowerment. I don't call it attunement, empowerment for my cousin. And again, her manual, even after a few weeks, is now really outdated because the information that came in from doing that empowerment, the Reiki empowerments with her, just opened me up to receive so much more information. And as Julie will attest, I could not keep up with what was coming in. I was recording messages to Julie left, right and center because there was so much coming in, and I'm like, Julie, what's going on? Every time I sit down to write, the information changes. And it wasn't that the information changed as such, but my understanding shifted constantly on what Reiki was. So we have been taught in the West, even if you haven't practiced Reiki and Reiki hasn't been the route that you've gone along, you will have been taught that Reiki is made up of two words, Rei and Ki. And you will have probably know that Reiki, as it's been taught, is universal life force energy. Most people will have some understanding of that, even if they haven't learned Reiki. But what we have, if you like, not understood is the culture of the Japanese people. All of our teachings have come through Hawaii Takata, a Japanese American woman, and she altered the teachings that she was given in order to, if you like, be able to teach them to her mainly Christian Western students. So, and her teachings had also been altered and simplified, and also from Chijiro Hayashi, her teacher, he'd altered Mikao Uzui's teachings so that they could be more of a healing based. He was a military doctor, so he created this structure and he created this healing. There were 5,000 ratings in the Japanese Navy to one doctor, and so they were desperate for some kind of medical attention, something like an emergency treatment. So his focus was, how can I contain this energy that Mikao Uzui is emanating? And this is the thing that we are all working with now. We know that as we raise our vibration in whichever way we do it, we now emanate that out into the world. We're activating codes, we're activating frequencies, we're grounding frequencies in order to keep, if you like, raising the vibration for everybody. So he understood that. Mikao Usui understood that. And he was teaching people how to raise their vibration so that they could become Reiki. They didn't do Reiki, they became Reiki. Reiki means true self. So here in the West, we've been taught it's Reiki, which is the key aspect is the universal life force energy. The Rei aspect is spiritual. So then you can look at it and say, okay, it means spiritual energy. But it doesn't. In the Japanese language, depending on the context in which you're speaking, words can mean something completely different. So you've got the word Reiki is Reiki. It's not Reiki, it's Reiki. And it means true self. So we become true self. We're accessing true self. So if you were to have like a Reiki attunement, for instance, or initiation or a raise your empowerment, what that did was it connected the student with the teacher. So we all know, like, say you're in a room with somebody like Julie, for instance. I'm going to mute you.
Yeah.
No. So say you're in a room with somebody who holds great knowledge and shines very, very brightly. And we are all doing that. Every single one of us are doing that. But a lot of the time we don't see our own light. We tend to see the light that we reflect onto somebody, and we see that coming back. But if you're in a room with somebody who is emanating this great light, this power, this connection, if you like, you get a feel for it. Something about it feels nice. You might go warm. You might suddenly have lots of insight. You know, I think you all understand that. So this is what was happening during an initiation or reiju. The teacher and the student became one. So the teacher then reminded the student of their connection to true self. They didn't give them Reiki. You cannot give somebody Reiki. So if you're a Reiki master, again, that's a misinterpretation. There are no Reiki masters. So in Japan, it would be known as Shihan, which means that you were able to teach somebody. You were at a place where you were able to teach and pass on knowledge to somebody, but it did not mean you had mastered anything. So when it came to the West, the interpretation or the translation of Shihan into English was master, because to the Asian people, master means teacher. But to the Westerners, to us Westerners, if you say, oh, I'm a master, that doesn't have the same translation. To us, it means, oh, I've mastered that. Now I've done that. I can move on to the next thing because I mastered it. And it doesn't mean that at all. So what we're going to do within the Diamond Light Reiki is to have a really good look at some of those teachings, but not from a point of view of saying, right, this is how you practice Reiki. We're not doing that at all. This will always be about what you choose to do with the information. We're presenting information to whoever wants to listen to it, so that you can merge that with your own information, your own knowings. But Diamond Light Reiki is not a modality. Diamond Light and Reiki mean the same thing. We've called it Diamond Light Reiki because that is the name that was presented to us to share. And people have said to me, get rid of the word Reiki. You don't want to be saying the word Reiki. But it's important that we use the word Reiki so that people understand what it actually means. Because for us all moving forward, if you like, well, we're always moving forward. As we expand our consciousness, what we're doing is empowering ourselves. We are supporting others to empower themselves. So if you look at the Western style Reiki. I'm going to call it Western style Reiki so you understand what I'm saying. That really has all been about, you needed healing. You know, you can heal yourself, or you need to go to a master or a teacher who will give you the Reiki so that you can then become a healer. You know, I mean, how often do we see this? This is something for me that has been difficult in the past to see, is people saying, I am a healer and I can heal you, or, you know, we don't tend to see it as much as you move out of those communities. You sort of don't tend to see that as much, because now we're all understanding that this was never about really healing ourselves. It was about returning to wholeness. We forgot that we didn't need healing. We forgot that we were already whole. And in the diamond community, we sort of understand this with the facets of the diamond. You know, that's why we've actually called each part of this, the teachings, if you like, a facet, rather than it being a level. We're not talking about levels anymore. We're moving away from that. This is a whole new understanding. This is about co-creation. This is about sharing. So it's not about me or Julie saying to you, well, you're not doing that right, I'll give you the right information, you go ahead and do it. It's not about that at all. But we want to be able to look at how the Western style Reiki, to a certain extent, was very disempowering, because it was teaching us that everything was outside of us. It taught us that the Reiki energy is something that we have to look outside of ourselves for, that somebody has to give to us, that we can send to another, that we, you know, we're doing all this. And in actual fact, it never was outside of us, because it always was us. We just didn't understand that at the time. And so there's no judgment about that, because we could never have really aligned with the Reiki teachings or any other real, you know, energy work, because we're all doing lots of different things. I've done many other energy processes, if you like, but it all boils down to the fact that everything that we do is who we're becoming. So, like, for instance, you know, how often do we go and do a course and we say, well, that's something else in my toolbox, I can pull that out if I need to. And then you've got somebody who presents in front of you. And I'm not a practitioner, as in that I have people come as clients to my house, but I might meet somebody, or somebody messages me and says, you know, look, I've got this going on, and I'm able to look at it from a different perspective and give my perspective on that, for them to then step back and you know, perhaps change how they viewed it. But I use all the tools in my box, and dependent on who's presenting in front of me depends on which tool I get out of the box. I think that makes sense, does it? Go on.
So one of the analogies that I love in respect of all of that, and it's one of the things that people who have come into the diamond community have often said, is that being in the diamond and in that space is also making sense of their entire life journey, because they can see all of the jigsaw puzzle pieces come together. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like everything that you do has value.
Yeah.
As long as it is also applied internally, because it is about you developing the wholeness of your true self through the journey. So yeah, you clear the facets and put the pieces together.
And I think that's it. It's like now we're in a place, as we are expanding and we're raising our vibration and you know, changing our consciousness now, and the whole consciousness of the planet. I mean, like, we in the diamond community, you know, working with the 9th wave of creation, and we will look at that through the facets of the Diamond Light Reiki. We get to see this journey from a whole other perspective, because everything that we have done, you know, it doesn't matter what it is actually an aspect of who we are and who we are becoming. We're not doing things anymore as such from that understanding of that, you know, oh, I've got to go and do this, I've got to do that, or I do Reiki, or I do Diamond Light, or I do other things. It's, we become it. And so it doesn't matter how you present yourself to a certain extent, you're always going to be bringing yourself and whatever skills or gifts that you have brought, and somebody else's will, that they'll bring theirs. So I mean, like sometimes you look and you think, well, I don't know that and I don't know that, and somebody knows that, but you know what you know, and you don't need to know the other thing because that person already knows it. It sounds like I'm jabbering, but I'm trying to try and bring it all together, with, because I can go off in all many different ways, I'm afraid. But
well, if I could just sort of add, Rachel, as well, I mean, with everything that's been downloaded and coming in over the last couple of weeks, it's like trying to condense what we're going to cover in all of the facets over, you know, sort of like, I don't know, 10 days of training, if you like, into a little bit here.
Yeah. And what we're going to also include as well are going to be some initiations, if you like, some activations, that sort of thing. And you know, I love sharing my light languages with people, and I know that it's not for everybody, and I know some people perhaps won't resonate with what I speak and how I present. So what we're going to do is, at the end of facets or beginning of facets, which whatever, we're not, you know, it'll all flow together. There's not going to be, there's a structure, but it's a very flexible structure, if that makes sense, you know. It's very fluid. But what we'll do is I can bring some light languages, but what I'll say to people is, if you're not happy with that, you can either turn your microphone off, you can decide not to receive it, or you could just be in the energy of it. And if somebody really doesn't want it, then I won't bring the light languages. But that's part and parcel of where we'll go with this. It's not going to be like, this is what you have to learn and this is what I'm going to do. It'll all be dependent upon who's in front of us, if you like, and what they particularly need to learn, or would like to learn, or would like to know. Because at the end of the day, Diamond Light Reiki is not a modality. It's Julie and I sharing our wisdom, our experience, our knowings, and merging them with what other people know. That's the thing, you know. And as I say, with Julie's work, it's been beyond its time. You know, it's been like, I mean, how many years has Julie been, you know,
slogging away. They weren't getting it. Even now, yeah, I mean, that's it, Rachel. Even now, people talk about Diamond Light as being something that they are given, something that is coming in from outside, and it's not. It's something that awakens and is released from every cell in your body. It awakens from within. So what we want to do, and that's what Rachel and I would be doing with this Diamond Light Reiki, is supporting that depth of awakening, that continued unfolding of the lotus, to unfold the light within. And there's some amazing, I love the techie stuff. I love the science. I've got some amazing science to support all of this in respect of, you know, how your body traps light biologically. You know, there are some biological mechanisms for that. So how we can work with them. And I think what's also interesting, Rachel, and we perhaps need to just share with people, is that while it is a personal process, it's not a modality, and that we stress, is that there will be processes during the training that will enable or facilitate you to work with others in a different way, in a more empowering way, other than what we have been taught in the traditional healing arts.
Yeah. I mean,
so there will be
it's almost like now with, you know, I've been hearing this for a long time, is that we never needed healing, you know, within the spiritual community. And I don't really like to identify with being, we're all spiritual, whether we are aware of it or not. But for me, it's more about becoming conscious, and it's about working with expanding my consciousness, my understanding of who I am and how I fit into the world, and what it is who I am, if that makes sense. But you know, this whole thing is not about go on, Julie, tell me, what was I going to say? You know me.
I did not give up.
Yeah, I can go all over the place a little bit, but there's just been so much, like Julie said, so much landing at the moment. But it is about being empowered. It's about being able to have a new perspective on some of the teachings that we have within the spiritual community been. We're just, again, we're just perpetuating the same things. You know, the information that we are going to present, especially from the Reiki perspective, the Western style Reiki, the Miko Sui Reiki, that information has been there for years and years and years, because that's how I connected with it. But it's not being introduced to a lot of people's teachings. And that's okay as well, because if you decide that that's the way you want to go and you want to continue with that practice, there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, another aspect of the diamond light work and the working with the sacred octahedron is about being the conduit for who you're bringing, who you are. You know, are you being a clear conduit in all the things that you're doing? So there's a lot of things that we can share from that perspective, and one of the things I'm very passionate about is that people see themselves as the bright light that they are, as the diamond light that you are. Because for a long time, probably like many people here, my self-esteem, you could scrape off the floor. You know, it was so low. And I've sort of always known that I was conscious of things, but I didn't fit into the world. And now it's almost as though I can see that it's almost like full circle, that who I always knew I was. It's like returning to true self. It's returning to wholeness. It's that whole thing of you came in almost forgetting everything, which I didn't at the time, but then we bit by bit we forget it, and then our self-esteem goes down. We don't think we fit in the world. We've got nothing to present to the world. We've got nothing to bring. And then something comes online during, you know, different things that happen to us, and then suddenly we're like me now in this place where the information I know, the things I know, are so expansive. You know, you just want to share it with everybody. You want to be able to say to people, you can do this, you can be me, you can, you know, bring yourself. And one of the analogies I use sometimes is, often we look and we see somebody who's shining their light really brightly, and we can't see our own light. And it's because we're not looking back on ourselves. We don't see ourselves. We see the light in front of us that's shining, and not realizing they're shining because we're the torch pointing at them. Do you know what I mean? So to me, it's important that people actually you know, see who they are and know that they are a diamond light. They are Reiki. So yeah. Go on,
can I add a little bit? So I think that's yes, collaboration, absolutely. So some of the stuff that we will be covering, while we've called it Diamond Light Reiki, and I think it's pretty clear now that Reiki is diamond light, you've got that, and that's just the Japanese term that is being used to describe it, is that we will be taking a look at many of the other cultural contributions to the pool of ancestral wisdom, because this only comes through the Japanese arm, whereas all of the cultures of the world actually have their own description and understanding and contributions which really deepen. We might find that there is something in an alternate school of thought which really helps to trigger and unfold our own light. more effectively. So as we go through this, we will actually be exploring some of the ancestral continuum and some of the collective wisdom that has been seeded for us to access from other cultures, which I find very exciting, because I said to Rachel earlier, oh, I found some amazing stuff on African cosmology and the elements. It's just blowing my mind. So there's loads of stuff that's coming in, and both Rachel and I have sort of been working in the areas where we've been drawn. And of course, it's all relevant because it's all Reiki. You know, it's not limited to the Japanese understanding and the modality as we've been led to understand. So it's a very expansive process and a very expansive journey.
It's all being interwoven, and there's so many things that we're discovering. Is like from if you imagine the culture of Japan and you imagine the culture after the Second World War, because that is so important of understanding how the teachings came through to us as they are now. But when you can see what the original teachings by Mikao Usui were, you can see that we're actually doing that already. That most of us are actually bringing those sort of elements into our own practice. We just weren't consciously aware of them because we weren't relating to a Japanese understanding. You know, we're not Japanese, we are British, we're American, and wherever anyone else is from. Sorry, somebody did say
Netherlands,
yes. So we're all coming from different places to the same place almost, you know what I mean? And this is the understanding, is like, if you want to follow a Japanese modality, there are people who teach it from the Mikao Usui way absolutely brilliantly, with the meditations, with the practices he would have done, with the understanding of the, you know, the Shugendo and the Shinto and the different Buddhism perspectives. That's there, and if you want to learn it, then that, you know, that's, there's nothing wrong with that at all. If you want to continue to practice the Western style Reiki as you understand it, there's nothing wrong with that. But we're in a place now where we have so much more information. The dots, if you like, are all joining together, and we're seeing this picture unfolding, if you like, you know. And to me, that's what's so exciting. I've just been so, I don't know, just overwhelmed, I think, by how much truth, if you like, is coming through, and how the realization, this is huge, because now the ninth wave has been activated. We are now accessing that frequency in order to raise ourselves up and to actually see a different picture, completely different picture. And there was something I said not long ago about how it's like we search for the truth of something, you know, so we want to know what's the truth of the Reiki. But the truth doesn't matter, because the moment you discover something, it then changes, because now you have understood it at that level, or not even level, you've understood it at that place, and now there's something else to discover about it. You know, all of us were very multifaceted. You know, what you think you know about somebody else knows something completely different, and so on, and their understanding is different. So it's like Julie was saying, it's like the lotus constantly opening up and just delivering new frequencies, new vibration, new understandings, everything to us. And that's part and parcel of really what we are going to be presenting. Go on, Julie.
No, it's okay. No, I was just okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So I don't know if anyone's got any questions they want to ask. I mean, you know, Julie and I can jabber on a little bit. I know, not that I can, really, it's Julie, but.
So if I unmute you, I don't know, can you guys actually see that you've got a little hand that you can put up? Are there any of you that would like to ask questions, and then I could unmute you rather than unmuting everybody all at the same time?
They might be able to unmute themselves, Julie. at the
Yes,
bottom.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions for us at the moment? Does that give you an overall perspective of where we're going to go? And as Rachel said, there is a structure to each one of the facets that we will actually be sharing with you. And that is all up on the website. Yeah. It's, of course, subject to change because it's organic.
Yeah. Yeah.
As it unfolds, as the groups actually come in. But there is a fundamental understanding of where we will be going with the teachings of Diamond Light Reiki. So it's not another Me Too, which is how some people will perceive it. There's been comments already about reinventing the wheel, and we kind of said you didn't go read the website. You didn't listen to what Rachel was actually saying in the interview. This is not another Me Too Reiki. It takes us out of that old paradigm, and it elevates us to a whole new understanding and level. So if you are a Reiki teacher, if you actually work with other people, it means that you are then empowered and enabled to actually share greater and deeper wisdoms with your own clients, with your own students, with your own communities, whatever that might be, because that's the whole essence of the ninth wave. It's a unification wave. We want to unify all of these elements and facets of wisdom within the collective grids through our particular offering and sharing. So
it's important as well, Julie, to say that in the first facet we will have a look at what the Reiki journey that we understand it from the West, but this is not about relearning Reiki.
No,
this is about unfolding you as the diamond light that you are. Reiki means diamond light. Reiki means true self. Diamond light is true self. So it's just about bringing it together to explain that what most of us, I mean, most of my friends began their energetic understanding, if you like, through the route of Reiki. Most people did. And there are so many different perspectives through that, you know, and how many people, I know so many people were like, well, if you didn't do that and this, that, and the other, you're not doing Reiki properly. You know, we've all heard that through the different, you know, this.
Oh,
Reiki,
yeah, and that Karuniki Reiki is better because they've got different symbols, and this one's got their own symbols, and suddenly everybody was just bringing symbols in and creating new systems and modalities and calling it Reiki. Yeah.
I mean, from a Mikao Zui point of view, from the Japanese Reiki, the symbols, or the shirushi as they're called, were actually a teaching aid for people who hadn't been working with energies. So Mikao Zui's students would have trained for a long time with connecting with the energies, because another thing that's very, very important to understand is, from a Western perspective, we will say, oh, I'll send you some Reiki, or can you send me some Reiki? The Japanese understood the concept of oneness. There was no need to send anything. They did not send anything. The Jumon, the mantra that went along with what people believe is sending healing, sending Reiki, that mantra meant, I am you and you are me. There is no separation. And that's another thing to you know, look at, because as we're all learning that we're interconnected, this will just bring it all together. Those understandings that you might have had, and you might have thought about this and thought about that, and then not had a greater, well, not even a greater, but just something to bring it all together. This, I believe, this Diamond Light Reiki is going to be that's going to bring the things together, because there's so much that Julie and I can bring. Well,
I think that's the beauty of it, Rachel, and I know just from the diamond work, that's something that everybody has actually said, it brings things into a cohesive whole. And when we look at diamond, that's the nature of diamond. It unifies everything within its form and structure. So yeah, we'll be working with sacred geometry. We will be working with the essence. We'll be working with the light. We'll be working with our biology, working with our disciplines. And and there's something else that I think we mentioned at one stage, is that it changes the whole concept of Reiki from the Western understanding of a rigid process, the rigidity of a process, to a personal discipline. So there are two very, very different understandings in the way that it has been actually propagated and communicated. So it's from the rigidity of the Western teachings to a discipline that becomes an internally guided process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone else wants to ask questions, because I've seen a couple of people popped in after we'd said, do you want to
sorry,
ask
yeah, then we started yakking again. Okay, so does anybody have any questions at the moment? Any comments?
Yourself if you have.
Hey, this is Linda.
Yeah, Linda.
Hiya, Linda.
Go for it, Linda.
I just, you know, I don't even know how to say what I want to say. Thank you, you two beautiful ladies, for what you're doing. I totally resonate with this from back in the 90s with, you know, my Reiki experience and all the other experiences of the quote healing modalities that I personally always embrace for my own personal use and never really use them. And so, I mean, this for me, what information you're presenting is just total, helps me understand why I always did what I did with all of my many journeys with learning, and always knowing that this was really about my own journey. And even though you know, back then that was like you were crazy.
Yes.
But you know, for me personally, that's pretty much how I've always been. And so I just loved, I mean, Julie, the whole reason I was attracted to you, this is just like, and Rachel too, both of you, wow, you're really doing such a huge, I don't even think you know what you're doing. It's big.
Thank you.
It's really big, and I really appreciate it. And it's, you know, it's about what, to me, what you're doing is helping people move themselves so much forward
Yes.
into knowing their oneness, you know, the oneness, all of that stuff, and that to know that, you know, it's really about ourselves individually. And there's no such thing as healing, like you say. It's just as we, but what you're doing is helping humanity get that. And so this is amazing.
You.
This is amazing.
Thank
so
you, Linda.
so
yeah,
much.
it's just
I get it.
That's wonderful. And I think, you know, that's what I've also been saying for many years, is almost bemoaning the fact that somehow what I wanted to get across with the Diamond Light work and with the Diamond Light grid, you know, sort of in Diamond Light world, it's like so few people were getting, they were understanding, you know. And it's just, it's really, really beautiful to be able to bring this into a context that goes, oh my God, and to see all of the distortions where I was getting these hits because of the Diamond Light work, these hits about the distortions in respect of Reiki. It's like now at this point, I go back 20 years and go, I can see why I was feeling that and could see why it all makes sense now. And it was, you know, it's because of the Diamond Light work, and Diamond Light Reiki is going to make that, I think, more accessible to everybody else in a language that will make more sense. So thank you for sharing that, Linda. We got some lovely comments there as well.
I think as well, for what Linda's saying, it is something that many of us have been feeling for such a long time. It's like, why am I doing this and everyone else is doing that? Why doesn't that feel right to me, and yet this feels so right to me?
Yes.
And that's what we are. I mean, I think the whole presentation of the information that we can share is about just that reinforcing for not only yourself, Linda, and other people, but those who are to come, those who will be saying, you know, what's all this? I don't feel like I need healing. You know, we've got the next wave and the next wave and the next wave. If we've got this you know, we've got all these modalities that people are constantly searching for healing. I've got to clear my inner child. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. You know, but if we realize that this is returning to wholeness, there's no releasing. You are dark. You are light. You are rough. You are smooth. You're all of these things. There was never any need to heal. There's never this, you know, how often do we hear in the spiritual community, you must be positive, you must be happy, you must have lots of money, you must do this, you must do that, you must do that. We're all individual. We all have our own unique soul signature, and whoever we are is okay. That's perfect, you know, but we're taught we've got to fit in a box, and many of us don't fit in those boxes. You know?
Yeah, it's let me out.
Yeah.
Let me out of this box.
So it's nice to be able to present and the thing is we're so ingrained with you know, I don't want to say a method, I don't want to say a system, I don't want to say, you know, a course or anything like that, because those are the old structure, and we're laying the foundation for the new to come, or the old new, if that makes sense. Because it's interesting, you know, within a process within the Diamond Light community that we were in, I heard that we are the ancestors from the future. And at the time, that was a huge statement. That's who we are. We're the ancestors from the future. We came here to create this for our future and for the future of people who are coming. You know?
For our descendants.
Yeah, and this will ripple out, you know. And, you know, Julie and I are just, if you like, we're just taking one step in front of the other, and we're just seeing where this takes us. We're not saying it's going to be this or that or the other. We just know we have a lot to share, as do everybody else. This is not about us saying we know this and you don't know it, because this is us saying we know this. What do you know? What can you bring? What can you share? And to have that feeling that actually I've got something to share. For a long time, I didn't think I had anything to share. I didn't realize that I'm sharing me. This is who I am. This is what I have to bring. You know, when we don't bring a gift, we are the gift that we're bringing, you know?
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's got any more questions. I'm trying to look at
There's a few comments in the chat room, which is just lovely. It's from Katie.
Glasses on.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Liz says, I'm looking around me and I have diamonds everywhere in the restaurant in Cape Verde.
Oh,
do you know, isn't it amazing? Sort of once you connect with that essence, you suddenly see them everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just really beautiful. Katie said, absolutely resonate with this. Margaret saying, getting chill bumps. That was when you spoke about the ancestors. Oh, thank you, Liz. I saw them.
Doesn't your camera work, Katie? Doesn't your camera work, Katie? Or anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just absolutely wonderful to... Oh, there we go. Triangles, diamonds behind Pamela as well. Oh, isn't that just lovely?
Yeah.
I do love it. It's
That's
just
wonderful.
Suddenly you realize that you've been attracted to this geometric form that has huge significance without actually realizing it. And you look around, as I said, we see it in the stained glass windows and in your doorway, and, you know, sort of everywhere you look, it's just diamonds, diamonds. So Diamond Light Reiki. represents the foundation and the opening of, and it's in fact the combination of more than 20 years worth of journeying, of work, and of understanding in order to set a new foundation for the way forward, which will be aligned with the ninth wave. Oh, and gentleman Garrett. Yes, sorry, I said thank you, ladies. I didn't say thank you to Garrett, who's our gentleman. Yeah, it's lovely to have some masculine energy here. Thank you, Garrett.
Yeah.
Pamela's nodding, going, yes, it is indeed.
Does anyone share now that we've asked several times? Does anyone want to ask anything Linda's asked? Anyone else?
Yeah, Linda, thank you for those wonderful comments. Anybody else have any comments or questions at all? The course details are up on the website. We have 2 facets, 1 weekends planned.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 2 4-hour sessions on a Saturday and a Sunday. The first one is next weekend. The next one is in July. So hopefully one of those will work. We're going to be able to do a lot of the initial work online. We will then have we will have the first practical day, which is going to be really important because we're going to bring in movement processes, some really exciting stuff. Yeah, we're looking forward to that as we bring in movement that actually supports our biological alignment with the geometric form, with the, well, we'll talk about it later, but yeah, we have a lot that's going to come in with the practical work. It's not just a put your hands here,
isn't it? Because there's so much information, but it will unfold in a perfect way. And I think that's part of where we're all at now. We're all at this place of understanding that wherever we go forward from here is exactly where we're meant to be going. It's perfect, but we're all conscious enough now to know that. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I really just feel that it's not about levels, it's not about judgment, it's not about this is better or that's worse or anything like that. This is about co-creation. This is about knowing about unity consciousness and working with that, but seeing how important we are ourselves in everything that we do, even if we're not out there, you know, having lots of people come in and lots of clients and this, that and the other, because many of us, I know for myself, used to feel, well, what's wrong with me if I haven't got all these clients come in, without actually understanding that what I do for myself ripples out to everybody. That's the importance of what we want to share within this Diamond Light Reiki. You are true self, you are Reiki, you are the Diamond Light. Yeah. You don't do it, you are it.
There was something else that I just kept thinking of, Rachel, sorry, just to add to the mix, is one of the things as well that we will be working with and sharing is about not cutting cords.
Yes.
Do not cut energy cords. So if any of you are still cutting energy cords, please stop.
Yeah.
And come and join us. Come and join us.
Yeah.
How can we really think, if you think about this logically, how can we, if we recognize ourselves as part of the unity consciousness and part of the wholeness, and our true self is that, by cutting cords, we actually remove ourselves from a part of the wholeness.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave that with you. We've got some alternatives.
Yeah, you can release cords, but don't be cutting anything. And also know that that if you send healing to somebody, you know, how often do we see people say, oh, please send healing for my dog, it's hurt, please send healing for my grandma, she's in hospital, all those things. If you send healing to somebody, you just attached an energy cord. You sent an energy cord to that person. Now, did you think, okay, I've sent enough energy to them, now I'll release my cord and bring it back? Or did you forget about it and leave the cords attached? This is why it's important to understand everything is energy, frequency, vibration. We are energy, frequency, vibration, you know, so it's important to understand that. And because if you understand oneness, you know there is no need to send anything, because the moment the person thinks I need something, it's available to them. It doesn't have to come from somebody else. this is another part that we've been trained with the Western style Reiki, that we have to receive something from somebody, or we have to give something to somebody, and we really don't. So it is part of the conditioning, unfortunately and unfortunately. Nothing is ever wrong, is it? I'm going to read the comments. Thank you. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess it's 4:15. We've gone for an hour and a quarter. So if we open it up for a last comment or question, anybody else got anything else they'd like to add? Pamela's just said gratitudes, love and bright blessings, no cords attached. Yay!
Thank you, Pamela.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Anne,
Anne.
yes.
Yes.
Hello. I've been trying to. I'm sorry, my camera's not working. But I'm with you. I just wanted to add a comment. Pioneers never fit in boxes; they kick them open. Yeah. And I think it's not gone through on the group chat. So I just wanted to say, that you really are sort of out there pioneering, but then everybody is.
Everybody is
opening up. To this sort of energy at the moment. And I find that, just like you're talking about, Rachel, you go somewhere, you come away and you think, I've just been working. Because I've actually just been in a situation where somebody needed something, and maybe I had a comment or two that just helped.
Absolutely.
And I think that's if you're aware that you're doing it all the time, not just for sessions. But I think we've got to be careful, if I might just say, that we don't start saying people can't come to us to actually learn about things. And we might not be giving them healing in the old sense, but I think the work that we do with others is still important.
Absolutely.
Proper sort of whether it's you put into a chat, or whether it's put into a modality, or whether it's simply being. I think that you be careful saying about not sending. I send healing on a healing group. Now I've got to say to myself, from what you've said, maybe that's not the right way to do it. And we're doing a power of 8 to 10 every Monday, and it seems to be making a difference. But from what you said, maybe we look at it in a different way. But the thing is, the feedback that you have from both the people in the groups and the people receiving it is absolutely intense and powerful, because we do it for 10 minutes on a particular issue, but maybe that's not the right way to do it. And I'm always open, because that's why I'm doing I'm doing it. But the thing is, I think we've all got to be open to moving forward, not just depending on what you're saying. I think what you're doing is opening doors for all of us to step through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Anne. That's it entirely. We're not saying this has to, it is about us all understanding our own place and what it is we bring. And each, because a lot of the time we think, well, we've got to do it this way, we've got to do it that way. And then when we understand that who we are that is perfect for the people who will come to us. And so what you're doing is, if that's what you're feeling and everything, that's absolutely perfect. All I'm saying is, because I'll know what I get told, and I have to present that. Do you know what I mean? So we're all presenting.
And I'm not criticizing what you're.
No.
I remember going to a medium, and she had all the kit there, crystal balls, tarot, everything in front of her, and she just swept her arm right the way across it and said, I don't need any of that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And so she said, I can just talk to you.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
She didn't need to give me the tarot cards of this, of that. She knew where I was sitting and who I was, in effect. And I think sometimes you need the tarot cards, you need the modality, you need the something as a door to open into people's spirituality, so they can learn. All these things have been doors for us, and doorsteps, and 11s, stepping through, 4, the end of one thing, the start of another. Everything is in that sort of way. So well done. I think it's fantastic. I've been a great passionate Diamond like
You have to.
Yeah.
throughout.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And if I can just add something which is really interesting, because bearing in mind, I know some of the healing circles, it's not so much about sending energy as much as it is about holding space.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there's a difference because when you, yeah.
Can I just come back and say that a large amount of my group is actually not in the room.
Yes.
So I have people coming in from Sussex to Newcastle, from Yorkshire, all over the place, who come when they can to actually hold the space.
Yeah.
And they hold the space that's nothing to do with third three-dimensional space. And I've seen them, and they're magnificent. And you're holding the space and taking the healing out from individual out to the world in a very powerful way. And I think that's absolutely right, Julie. It is holding the space and also giving into that space everything you can give.
Yeah.
And receiving everything you can take. And that's the difficult part for most people, is receiving the healing. Especially for people like us. To actually open up and take it from elsewhere is very, very important, because you don't want to get to a situation, well, I'm a healer.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. That's a label I haven't used for years. Yeah.
Oh, no, of course not, but people do.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the wonderful thing though with the Diamond Light grid, isn't it? Because we're connecting through the grid. We become one through the grid. You know, so a lot of it is terminology as well, isn't it? It's like somebody could describe the same thing but using different words. So that's just, again, it is just terminology and understanding what it is we're all trying to say. It's the same sort of thing, but you know, we're just sharing our own perspective, aren't we?
That's right. Well, I've actually seen us drop into, if you take a diamond grid, each person dropping into their own diamond grid. And that is fantastic, because we retain the individuality of who we are, but at the same time, we're part of this absolutely fantastic, unbelievable grid. Yeah. And as you send energy into it, you see people come alive. You see people, you never know who they are, but you can see the light coming on. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Anne.
There is no desert without the grain of sand, is there?
No.
Absolutely.
Without the drip of water.
Yeah, that's lovely. That, in fact, the other analogy is, because there's so much that gets spoken about these days in respect of sovereignty, is that sovereignty is also balanced by our position and place within the collective. So sovereignty is often viewed in the Western perspective, and by some as boundaries that almost remove you from that. Sort of having strong boundaries, whereas there is still an element and aspect, and there has to be, of maintaining an identity within the collective infrastructure. And I mean, that's the beauty of the diamond, which you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
Ready to just be a part of a big fluffy cloud where you just float away? And when you actually talk to a healing group or meditation group about, right, are you ready then to just... Oh no, I've got one or two things I need to do.
Yeah.
There I go. That's what the individuality is.
Yes. Yeah. That's lovely. So we got a few other comments in the chat room, if I can just share them with everyone if you haven't seen them. Liz has said, have been here on holiday for nearly a week and no one has spoken. Oh my goodness, you may just as well have been on a retreat, Liz. Today, the one person who did speak, as he was getting in the pool, decided to tell me he had 4 strokes in January. Wow. I felt a frequency go from me to him, and I was just being. That perfect example. That is just so beautiful. Kath says, thank you, ladies. You're holding very much needed space for us to discover our own unique gifts and unique roles here, and be in complete alignment with them. Absolutely. And co-creating synergistically with each other too. So empowering. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Kath. Thanks for the lovely comics. I think that is actually, it's really important is to, as Rachel was saying earlier, there was a comment about being seen. And we want to also spend some time clarifying this. Okay, you're out and about, so your camera's off. That's wonderful. Is clarifying this whole concept of being seen versus being visible, because there is this huge trend out there at the moment to be visible. And yet so few people are really seen. So it really is about seeing individuals and seeing those that we come into contact with in their authenticity, as opposed to just being out there and being visible. So the one is an internal recognition, the other is an external mask, if that makes sense. But we're going to work with this, because everybody that is a part and parcel of this is seen and honored for the gifts and the role that they actually bring to the communal, greater collective grids of life, to the life continuum, basically, because we're all part and parcel of the life continuum. So yeah, thank you for that. That's exactly where we aim to place, if you like, to hold space for this initiative, this collaboration. Thank you.
And hopefully in the process, we're going to be activating whole new understandings for the whole of collectives, all the different collectives there are out there. Will, you know, as we remember things, because my whole understanding is that we never really forgot anything. We just didn't remember. So anything you learn is just a remembrance, you know. So as we remember a lot of the things, that then feeds out into all those around us. And so, you know, the work, if you call it work, gosh, there's so many words.
Yeah, I know, you got to be careful of the language.
Words, aren't they? You know, and it's like all the time, with the expansion, your words, your vocabulary changes to describe how you're feeling, and it's impossible to do that. So yeah, it's so difficult to try and put into words what it is. But one of the things I do know is that as Julie and I present these knowings, these wisdom of our own knowings and our own wisdom to you, that light codes are going to be activated, and you will remember, and we will remember as we're teaching, as we're showing you, you know, and how, as you're sharing with us, this is going to be, this is unity consciousness, this is, you know, interconnectedness, this is collaboration, this is working together. But it'll be in ways that we can't even contemplate with our human mind.
Yeah,
and
no, we can't.
That's the importance of, I think Julie and I can sense the importance of it, but it's just mind-blowing in a way, isn't it, how everything that's been dropping into us, it's like, right, why do I need to look at that now? Why do I need to look at that? But then when they come together, the understanding is completely different, and it's like so many dots are being joined, and the picture that's coming is just like, how did I not see that before? But this is the whole thing of, as we present these teachings, if you like, it just will allow others to be able to see the picture, if you like, that we're seeing. That's what I feel.
Well, hopefully, yeah, because it's been 20 years unfolding. You know, it's like looking back now and going, oh my God, this was why I had to start that journey. But if I had known 20 years ago that it was going to be so challenging to come to this point, I wouldn't have done it. No. So that's where we stand now, you know, also is kind of looking at this, getting the inkling and getting a hint of how big it's going to be, but actually no clue. It's just one step in front of the next, each moment in time, to actually continue the process, and in a different way.
Yeah.
Together with the accumulated wisdom. Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited.
You can probably tell, because I can't speak. I can't get my words formulated.
Well, it's been an hour and a half, so I actually think that that's time enough for today. We are so grateful, Kath. Thank you thank you so much. Kath says got to go now. So grateful for everybody being here. If there's any other question at all, then please feel free to email Rachel or myself. We just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be here to share with us today. We look forward to hopefully welcoming you on some of the trainings and workshops as we then begin unpacking and unfolding some of the synchronicities and the magic and the links that have been created over many years, and sharing in your wisdom too. So thank you. And building a new community.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Margaret, Margaret signed up. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording and say thank you, everybody. And here's the launch. From here on, who knows what's possible? We shall see. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Mary.